The Panthers are now on the clock. The Cardinals are now on the clock.
Cardinals are off the clock now. Adam, what can you tell us about this guy?
He's a Heisman-winning defender. Let me say that one more time. He won the Heisman, and he's a defensive player. Need I say more? You can imagine how well he played this season to win the biggest award in college over several offensive playmakers. The trophy was well-deserved, and according to Matt Miller, he projects really well as a defender in the NFL. I think this is a home run pick, and it's great to see a defender get some well-deserved recognition.
All right, let's go to Adam Schefter, who's got more on this pick.
Every year, the rookie who runs the fastest 40 at the Combine seems to immediately become very popular with NFL scouts. So after turning in the fastest time of his class, he's in the spotlight ever since. On top of that, his shuttle and three-cone times also help solidify the fact that he's just plain fast. The team could definitely use an injection of speed, and this is a step in the right direction.
The Texans are now on the clock.
Now that the Texans have made their pick, let's go to Adam Schefter to hear more.
This is a player that many felt could be a solid role player in the NFL, but not a dominant force. That train of thought changed after one of the best defensive performances the college All-Star game has ever seen. At times, it seemed as if he were everywhere on the field during the game, disrupting both the run and pass game for the opposition. Several scouts I spoke with pointed to that performance as evidence he could dominate at a high level, and sources have told me that more than one general manager felt he was the type of defender you could build a franchise around. Now all that's left for him to prove is if the All-Star game was an aberration or a sign of things to come.
The Packers made their selection. For more about him, let's go to Adam Schefter.
His team had one of the best rushing defenses in college this season, and he's probably the biggest reason why. Teams eventually abandoned the run game altogether after they averaged only 1 to 2 yards per carry in the first half. Among linebackers on the team, he would always lead the point of attack, penetrating the opposing team's offensive line. Every tailback that lined up against him seemed to keep one eye on the handoff and the other searching for him. And usually when they found him, it was too late to react. He's one of the best tacklers to come out in years. Hopefully, he'll get on the field soon and help them stop the run.
The Broncos are now on the clock. The Seahawks are now on the clock. The Jaguars are now on the clock. The Jets are now on the clock. The Titans are now on the clock.
All right, team is now off the clock. Adam Schefter, can you tell us about their newest player?
Well, there isn't much to say other than this kid was born to run. He's the spitting image of his father, a nationally ranked sprinter in several major events and highly recruited by every major college. However, unlike his dad, he chose to pursue a career in football, and so far that decision is paying off. He may not be gold medal fast, but he has the speed and quickness to cause fits for the opposing team. He's the type of player you like to see out in the open field where he can make moves a lot of other players can't. The coaches are going to love having his speed at their disposal.
Let's go to Adam Schefter now, who's got more to say about the Lions' latest pick.
A veritable interception machine, he holds his college's single-game record for interceptions in a game, snagging 3. Scouts pointed to an almost sixth sense when the ball was in the air, and Matt Miller had him ranked as the top defensive back in the draft in his final mock. True lockdown defensive backs are few and far between, and this is a pick that should solidify this team's pass defense for years to come. It'll be very interesting to see if opposing offenses go right after him and how if he shows any rust after being avoided for much of his final year in college.
The Colts are now on the clock. The Rams are now on the clock. The Steelers are now on the clock. The Eagles are now on the clock. The Ravens are now on the clock.
Adam Schefter has the inside scoop on Norwood.
The importance of a lockdown pass defender cannot be emphasized enough, and that's exactly what every GM I talked to described him as. His ability to play physical and to outwork his opposition off the line have also been areas of high praise on his journey to the draft. This skill set could be seen in numerous games this year where he completely shut down some of this draft's top-rated wide receivers. When you're tasked with neutralizing an opponent's number one wideout, it's a great deal of responsibility to ensure you're not just physically ready, but also mentally ready. This is another important trait the GMs I spoke with mentioned to me that made them so excited about this guy. The hope is that he will quickly learn the playbook, get some solid reps in the preseason, and come week one, be ready to play.
The Packers are now on the clock.
Hold on now. This pick is trading teams.
The Dolphins are now on the clock. The Bills are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock.
What wait, looks like both war rooms are feverishly back on the phones. I think that means a trade is coming.
The Vikings are now on the clock. The Cardinals are now on the clock.
Pick's been made. Let's go to Adam Schefter to hear more about the player.
He was having a relatively quiet season this year, but we all know how one big showing can quickly turn things around. His late-game heroics and Hail Mary went down as one of the greatest moments of the entire season. Since then, he's continued to show a knack for stepping up his level of play in clutch situations and was able to pull off a string of impressive victories, each time increasing his draft stock. Some say you can only capture lightning in a bottle once, but I believe he can do it again. And apparently, his team does too.
The Redskins are now on the clock.
Our very own Adam Schefter has more to say about this pick.
Successes and failures seem to go hand in hand during a very inconsistent season for him. Leading into his pro day, scouts expressed a great deal of concern over his inability to string together consistent positive performances. Those who attended came away extremely impressed with his raw physical abilities and footwork, feeling that with time and proper coaching, he could develop into a formidable NFL lineman. This pick may not pay immediate dividends, but it's a solid investment in the future of the offensive line.
The Packers are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a trade.
The Raiders are now on the clock. The Browns are now on the clock. The Broncos are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock.
All right, now that the pick's in, let's go to Adam. Adam, what can you tell us about this guy?
He's a very athletic defensive back, but if you watch his combine tape, you'll see why he's on defense and not a receiver. During the pass reaction drills at Indy, he had a hard time hauling in any of the passes thrown his way. Some passes he bobbled, some passes he missed by a fingertip, and at least one pass he flat dropped. He may be able to make a play on the ball with his agility, but I don't think he has the playmaking ability some teams want in their defensive backs. It'll be interesting to see how soon he gets on the field for this team early in the season.
The Redskins are now on the clock. The Chargers are now on the clock. The Chiefs are now on the clock. The Broncos are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock.
Adam, what can you tell us about that last pick?
Well, he had a brief scare in the offseason, and I'm sure it scared a few teams out there as well. The combine ended abruptly for him after an undisclosed heart condition was discovered during a routine medical exam. Officials held him out of workouts and asked that he consult a specialist. Unable to perform any drills, he did stay at Indy and interviewed with each team. Following the combine, he visited a specialist and had surgery to correct the issue. I spoke with his agent, who was confident that it was an abnormal circumstance, and he assured me it wouldn't affect his play. Clearly, the GM was not concerned with this incident either.
The Steelers are now on the clock.
Let's go to Adam now, who's got more on the Steelers' last pick.
He was one of the most dominant pass rushers in college football last year, getting everyone's attention after netting over 20 sacks and setting a new school record. He started seeing double teams at the line midway through the season, and that still didn't stop him from getting to the quarterback. Scouts all agree that he has a rare combination of strength and burst off the line that make him a threat on almost every play. He's a real difference maker for a defense, and he should be a starter for this defensive line in no time.
The Vikings are now on the clock. The Buccaneers are now on the clock. The Chiefs are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Dolphins are now on the clock. The Bills are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Vikings are now on the clock. The Cardinals are now on the clock.
Cardinals are off the clock now. Adam, what can you tell us about this guy?
NFL scouts were well aware of him throughout his college career, but it was an exceptional late-season performance that had him entering the conversation as the top-rated quarterback of this draft. In that performance, he showed he was capable of being a coach on the field, making the quick adjustments needed to take over a game by hot-routing receivers and calling audibles that lead to multiple touchdown passes. Based in part to that performance, his new team hopes that they'll be able to hand him the keys to the franchise and let him steer it to a Super Bowl.
The Redskins are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Texans are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock.
Packers have just made Delgado their newest player.
The defensive lineman, as you will find, here's a guy who plays with reckless abandon in his quest to bring down an opposing quarterback. Many I talk to point to this mentality as the reason why he ended up with a ruptured pectoral muscle and cracked sternum, ending his college career. A tendo Achilles allograft reconstruction was needed to repair the pectoral and graft it back into place. Procedure typically takes 12 to 18 months to return from, yet he was able to achieve medical clearance in just 7. What remains to be seen, however, is if his all-out style of play will have changed at all, knowing that an aggravation of the injury likely means an end to his career. Fans of the team should not be surprised if we see a much more passive version of him come this fall. The special shoulder pads he'll need to wear to protect the area could slow him down by themselves.
The Seahawks are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Jets are now on the clock. The Titans are now on the clock. The Chargers are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Bills are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Dolphins are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Chiefs are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Jets are now on the clock.
Adam, what can you tell us about the Chiefs' newest player?
It's a tough pill to swallow when you are doing everything you can to prepare for the combine and you push yourself to the point of injury. That was his case just 2 months ago. And once he was injured, it was goodbye to pre-draft evaluations for him. His draft stock may have taken a hit, but it didn't stop this team from picking him up. He should be good to go before camp, and it's great to see someone take a chance on him.
The Packers are now on the clock. The Redskins are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Falcons are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Panthers are now on the clock. The Cardinals are now on the clock. The Patriots are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Colts are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Panthers are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock.